Hey everyone, and welcome to another walkthrough for Dragon Age 2 from me here at Geekhammer, EBIS-T. Okay, this is dealing with the High Dragon towards the end of Dragon Age 2, and the first thing you need to worry about is preparation. You can access this fight fairly early on in the last act, but you don't want to go for it straight away. You can see here I'm about level 20 and showing you some of the gear that I've got equipped, and my party members are similarly outfitted. So don't try and go for this straight away, you'll just get walked all over. In fact, I barely make it through this fight as it is at level 20 with solid gear. Okay, my party here is my main character, who is a dual-wield build rogue. I've got Aveline to act as the main tank, I've got Anders for healing, and I've got Varric to add a little bit of ranged firepower. The reason I've gone for Varric over Isabella is that the dragon has several local AoEs sent on itself which can stun your party members, so if I had Isabella in, she'd get stunned along with me and Aveline, and all my DPS goes as Anders' DPS is pretty abysmal, to be honest. Straight from the off, just get in and start hacking. Like in many of the fights in Dragon Age 2, there really isn't that much in the way of strategy to be had here. You'll notice that I'm pausing quite frequently to make sure that I get everything sorted. I'm just fixing up one of Anders' tactics here. I've currently got him to heal party members when they're down to 25%. At that point there's a good chance the dragon can actually one-shot them. Apparently there are items in the game which can res members in the middle of the battle. To be honest, I've never found them, but I wasn't particularly looking. This game didn't do that much to hold my interest. Here is the first curveball the dragon can throw at you. It'll quite often just fly off in a completely different direction and reset somewhere else. And as you will see further down the line, this can be even worse because it can land out of reach on a cliff to the east, but we'll get to that when it comes to it. But initially you just want to attack the dragon as you would almost any other boss. Use your powers, use health potions when your health is low, make sure you've got Anders in healing modes such as Panacea so that he can get everybody healed up properly. Summon your Mabari if you can. It doesn't do much against the dragon, but it's something. The other thing to do as well is to make sure you keep your party members spread out. Don't let them cluster all in one place, especially your back lines such as your casters and ranged rogues. Otherwise the dragon can have a field day with its blasts, which you've just seen come down there, which can do quite a bit of damage. Now this is the bit of the boss battle which you probably died on if you're watching this, because it can be a real pain in the neck. The problem is you get absolutely swarmed by dragonlings, and this will happen a total of 3 times during the fight. The key here is to pay very careful attention to who the dragonlings are attacking. Prioritise the dragonlings who are going after your healers and then your support characters. So anything that's attacking Anders gets priority, and then anything that's attacking Varric gets priority. Keep your characters moving as well. If your back line is under direct attack, have them keep running away. For example, you'll see a little further on in this video Varric ends up getting quite badly mauled and I have to take direct control of him. Your party members were not cursed with a huge amount of brain power. Even if you've got them set up to try and avoid enemies with the evade maneuver and so on and so forth, they will still basically stand right in front of something which is trying to attack them rather than run away. Again, here I'm spreading my party out a little bit. When the High Dragon starts to use its fireballs on you, you can usually avoid them if you're moving. Emphasis here on usually and not always. You'll see here I'm looting in the middle of the fight, usually a bad move, but a very, very smart move in this particular boss fight because some of the enemies will drop health potions and you will need them. You see here a lot of them just got caught in the dragon's AoE. Now, here I'm going to try and use Anders and Varric to get a little bit of damage in on the High Dragon. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. If you're using a ranged build rogue as your main character, or if you've got multiple ranged people in your party, you might be able to get something done there. Personally though, my priority is usually to keep everybody moving so they don't take damage. So you see here I'm splitting everyone up a little bit. The dragon should come down shortly. It can sometimes stay, yeah, there we go. It can sometimes stay on that ledge for quite a while, so the key there is patience. You'll really want to start hurting the dragon with your ranged characters, but more often than not, it pays dividends to just keep them away. You can see there it's landed next to Anders, and I managed to just about get him away before he gets blasted by the flames. So again, I'm using the basic tactics for a dual weapon wield rogue, bring up the unrelenting chain or unmerciful chain, whatever it is, I can never remember the name, and then finish it off with explosive strike. I've also got the assassin specialisation, so I'm also using the mark of death on him as well. Beyond that, as I say, dealing with the dragon himself, there really isn't that much in the way of tactics. Even in the duel with the Arashok, which you can see on my YouTube channel, you'll find that there are tactics. You can sidestep as he starts to attack and so on. With the dragon there are no such tactics because it's got 360-degree arcs of fire. Even if you're behind it, it can just horse kick you essentially. Alright, we're on to the second swarm. Here there are slightly fewer dragonlings, which I think actually makes it a little bit easier. It also helps that they're all focused on me. But as you can see, we also have a mature dragon there as well. Again, don't worry too much about it. Prioritise the targets who are attacking your weakest characters, especially your healer if you're using one. I went through most of the game using this setup, except I used Isabella instead of Aveline, and I used Merrill instead of Anders, which meant I had absolutely no healing in the party whatsoever. But healing is vital for this, because otherwise you're just going to burn through your potions so fast you're going to run out. Anders really can help tip the balance. If you feel up to multitasking, a good idea here is to keep an eye on the dragon as well. Pause the game, pick your target, and focus on the dragon whilst you're killing the target, the high dragon obviously. That way you can try and gauge where it's going to be shooting and try and keep your people moving. Again, moving isn't always enough to stop the attack, but it's better that the attack hits, say, 1 in 3 or 1 in 5 times instead of every time. Believe me, it'll help. You see here, Varric's got next to nothing left and can't use a potion yet, so I'm having to keep him running. If I can just kite him slightly past Aveline, hopefully she should be able to draw some of the aggro. Fortunately, Anders isn't looking too good either. Okay, yep, aggro drawn, including the aggro from Anders. That's also a very good reason to have Aveline on this mission. If you've got her built up as a taunt build and a tank, she can be great for controlling the swarms and keeping them from attacking your weaker targets. I can't stress that enough. If you lose one party member, this fight gets a whole lot more difficult. You've got to make sure that you protect the weaker party members. No doubt a few other people have other tactics. If you do, feel free to post and comment. Obviously all the help will be appreciated. If this guide isn't helping too much, then have a look through the comments. Maybe someone's got a better idea. Okay, again, make sure that you loot. It's generally not a good idea to loot in the middle of a fight, I know, but you need those healing potions. Here we go, he's come down to play again. Mark of Death, whatever it's called. Backstab to get out of the way. There you go, there's the AoE I mentioned near the start of the video and the reason why I was using Varric over Isabella. If I'd been using Isabella, that would have been everybody except Anders down for the count, and that would have been the dragon getting some DPS in without me getting any in return, which when it happens multiple times over the fight can just increase the damage gap so much that it can tip the fight in dragon's favour. This is a very, very high-end encounter. As I say, it's designed to be handled very close to the end of the game when you're near maxed out, so it can get a little bit awkward. My save actually bugged out. The reason I'm handling this quest at level 20 is because I couldn't actually access any more quests, so if you can get over level 20, by all means you'll probably find this fight much easier. While I was yakking on about the bugs there, you saw that the dragon was devouring Aveline. That's probably its most dangerous attack, owing to the fact that you can't actually heal a party member whilst it's underway, because obviously they're being thrown around, unless you have a healer. Anders can still cast healing magic on them. But if you've got a tactic slot set up to use the heal spell, odds are you won't be able to just simply fire it off and it'll be cooling down. For that reason, it may be wise to remove the heal slots from Anders and actually control him manually. But that's entirely up to personal preference. I made it through this fight without needing to do that once I set his triggering for the heal a little bit higher. You can see here we've got 2 mature dragons. I actually think this is the easiest. The dragonlings, whilst they go down fast, they simply don't. They simply have too much DPS when they're in a swarm, and they will rip apart anything in only a few rounds. The large dragons, they do a lot of damage in one hit, but they don't do it as fast. It's warriors versus rogues essentially. So this time, when the high dragon comes down, I should be able to finish the job for you. Again, it's just a case of running around the map, picking up the loot. The R button is quite useful here as well. The R button, if there's any enemies on the map, will automatically attack them, but when there are no enemies on the map, the R button will automatically go up to and loot the nearest body. So what I tend to do is run over them and just press the R button twice quickly, once to open it, once to loot all. And that can help keep the pace of the fight in the positive. Another thing I've heard as well, bug-wise, is that apparently Sebastian Vale, who I don't have and really don't care about because that's a profiteering DLC, as I mentioned in my second Dragon Age review, and also Isabella, their special, their friendship triggers apparently are bugged and actually weaken Hawk towards the end of the game. Now I don't know if that's permanent whether or not they're in the party, because obviously I've got neither of them here, but if you're using them, that's something to consider. Hopefully by the time this video is published that'll have all been patched out because it's been raging on the BioWare forums, but you might want to check that if your character seems to be attacking quite slowly. And just waiting for the dragon to come down and play. Keep everybody running around to try and avoid any pain. It also means that Anders has a chance to heal people. Okay, here we go. This should be the last round with the High Dragon. Like I say, the High Dragon's attacks, there really isn't much between them. You've got basic claw sweeps, kicks with the back leg, that stunning AoE, the long-range fireballs, and the short-range fire breath. Like I say, as with so much of the combat here, there really is very little in the way of tactics, so it's just run up to the dragon and hack at it. Trying to get behind it if you can will help you score critical hits, but to be honest, I question how vital that is in this fight. You can see Anders firing over my shoulder there. Every little bit of DPS helps. To be honest, I'm not even sure how many critical hits I got off on this thing. I wasn't really paying attention. I just go around the back of them as force of habit. See, chipping away there. It's focusing on Aveline. There we go with the Devour maneuver again. The good thing about the Devour maneuver is that it lets you attack the dragon directly without fear of reprisal. I've tried dodging the dragon's attacks in the same way that I dodged the Arashock's attacks, but I've found that generally speaking, it doesn't work. So probably the best thing to do is keep trying to get behind the dragon if you're playing as a rogue, because for one thing, if it's focused on you, despite the fact that it can attack you from pretty much any angle, it always prefers to face the person that it wants to attack, so you can sometimes make it waste a few seconds by jumping and turning. There we go, finish the job, and down it goes. So anyway, I hope this was more helpful to you. If you're playing as a warrior, then you might want to take the role of that Aveline had in this party, and so on. If you're taking the role of a mage, then take the role of Anders, and don't be afraid of controlling your party directly. And you see here we've got lots of good loot, including the champion's armour. So, I hope this helped. Until next time, and don't forget to subscribe.